Holistic Healing by Tiamat. For those of you that don't know, this is a healing platform where I give like different advice and do like fun new challenges and things like that. I do chakra healing, I do like herbal healing, I do Reiki healing, and I just sort of help you to in tune yourselves more to the natural world. I also post videos of nature content and animals and things like that. However, I'm also getting more involved recently with activism, and I definitely have like gone to protests before. Like I went to the lockdown protests in London and the ones by David Icke, and listened to David Icke talk. And I have been like active in campaigning before, but more recently I've been trying to sort of find an end or a solution to the conflicts that are going on in Gaza right now. And so today's video is going to be very different to any video I've ever made before. I just want to put it out there because a lot of my videos center around like cutesy, fun, playful things, and I don't really ever talk about very serious things. Even like when talking about the Bible, I tend to leave out more of the heavier, more serious stuff. However, I do feel like right now it is really crucial and important to step in with these arguments that are going on in the world before it's too late, because I don't want to see things spiral out of control. And I personally think that with what's going on in Russia, in Africa, and in the Middle East, we are very close right now to World War III, if not already in it. We may not realize what we are going through as a race, but I personally think it's already underway. I'm not going to give my reasons for it because I don't want to be here for fear-mongering today. I am here to provide solutions, things that I've been thinking about for a long time and things that are bugging me. And the first sort of thing that the reason why I'm creating this is because I just saw a post on Instagram that is talking about why is the coverage of Gaza so big right now, and why are people seemingly ignoring Sudan? And this person was essentially saying they need to stop showing what is going on in Gaza and start showing what is going on in Sudan more. And actually, I do kind of want to speak about this a little bit because there is a lot of media and public attention going to Gaza right now. Yes, definitely. But this is not the beginning of what is happening in Gaza. This is not the start of it. This is not like, I'm not saying it's the start of what is happening in Africa either. However, this has been happening since 2007. Since the beginning of 2007, there have been food cuts and blockades to stop the people of Palestine from receiving adequate care, food, and aid. While there is a lot of bad things going on in Africa, there has not been any laws placed to officially oppress these nations in such a level to essentially starve them and to completely take all human rights away from them. They are allowed to move, for example. In Gaza, you can't leave. You cannot move freely. I'm not saying that they should be pitted against each other ever, because there clearly needs to be more help for Sudan as well. And I'm not saying that what these Arab people are doing to these African people is normal, just, or right. It is not. But there is also other things going on in other areas of the world as well. Like, for example, I have personally noticed in the UK, there is so much domestic abuse going on. So much, and it has been normalized. I know a man the other day who was literally, his neck was slit open by his girlfriend with a bottle. She bottled him, and nobody spoke about that. And I'm not saying, I'm, however, not one of these people that is saying that it should be covered the way that Gaza is being covered. I am just saying everywhere has problems and not all of them are going to be mentioned. The area that I live in is particularly being, well, not so much anymore, but it has particularly been basically a lot of rape happens in the area of the town that I live. It's known for that. It is one of the worst places in the country for it. And that doesn't get spoken about on national news. And in Jamaica and the Caribbean islands, there is a lot of abuse going on towards women and children. So, not everything is always going to be covered. And if you want something to be covered, then it is your responsibility to campaign against it. It is your responsibility to speak up about it. You can't expect the rest of the world to understand what is going on if no one's speaking about it. It's the people who have gone to Gaza and are covering this. A lot of these people are independent. So, and if you go back a couple of months ago, you cannot find news reports about the true nature of what was happening. Yeah, you see on the news now these people being rejected and shot at the food handout places. But this has been happening for the longest of times. So that's essentially something that I wanted to say, and that's essentially why I came on today, because I was sort of not necessarily annoyed by this, but it caught my attention and it raised my alarm bells as to the fact that there is more divide happening because of the aid that is going to Gaza, and that is wrong. You should not be jealous of the fact that Gaza has gotten a flotilla and that they have received some level of aid, because that's actually a positive sign for the human race. It is showing that we are progressing and advancing to be able to help smaller communities that previously would have had no ability to receive this help. So here are some things that you can do to help. That's what I said I was coming here to do. And the reason I didn't come back on last night, I just want to keep this short and brief, but I was out until really late. I was out until 9:30. So yeah. Anyway, this video is going to be uploaded onto my channel, so I want to keep it on subject. So I'm not going to be answering the comments. But yes, I agree, free Palestine. But yes, here are some things that we can do to help our own causes or Gaza. I'm going to be using Gaza as a point, like as a standing point. But you can change the word Gaza, you can change the word Palestine to fit any circumstance. So what we first of all need to do is we need to raise awareness of what is going on in Gaza. We need to start to speak about this, and I'm not just talking about blogging and vlogging in a state of hysteria. You need to articulate what is going on in a wise way. You need to counteract the portrayals that Israel have of Gaza, and that they are creating in the world. For example, that everyone in Gaza is Hamas, or that they are supporters of the organization Hamas, because that is not true. You also need to educate yourself. That should have probably been the first step. But yeah, one of the first things you need to do is educate yourself. You need to work out what exactly is going on and keep educating yourself. Don't just think, oh, well, I've received adequate information, I'm going to stop learning now. You need to keep finding out what is going on daily. For example, you may know about what happened on May 14th, but you might not have known what happened on May 14th is when I think it was 77 people in Palestine were killed, at least, and 22 of them were children. So yeah. However, on the 22nd, I think it was the 22nd, it was around the 22nd, they shot a large group of people who were going to Israel for aid, for food. And that is something that I do want to speak about because your question is directly related to this. I think the surrounding Arab countries don't want to get involved because they don't want a war, but there has been so much criticism on Egypt, but especially as to why they don't open up their borders, because they are the closest country other than Israel and they have direct borders onto the Gaza Strip. And so I don't know, because I'm not the Egyptian government, but I personally think that they could do a lot more to help this, but they don't want to do anything that's going to create more war and destruction and get them seen as people who are like leading or creating more terrorism, essentially. I believe the number is actually a lot higher than that. Especially in the last few years. However, I think that you don't know your facts, to be honest, because the number is actually significantly higher than that. And anyway, I'm not going to go too much into that, but another thing that we can do to help is to create crowdfunding. So after you raise awareness and you teach people around you what is going on, and essentially create campaigns that are counteracting the campaigns that are supporting Israel, you need to start finding a way to send your own aid there. Because if you're relying on other charities and other people to help you out, you're not going to get the full side of the story, and it's not going to go to where you want it to. It's never going to reach all of these people. So you need to think about what your most important cause is. For example, you may be like wanting to support single young men, or you may be wanting to support, for me, it would probably be women and children. You need to pick a cause, even if it is just like all of Gaza. You need to pick a cause, stick with it, and raise your own funds for it, because there is no way that there is going to be enough help just from like one globalized, centralized charity. it's something that we all need to get together and do as a collective. And this isn't just about Gaza. I just want to reiterate again, this point is, although I'm saying Gaza, this is about all of your causes. So if you want something to be done about something, then you need to be the active voice. Who's going to talk about a situation or raise awareness about a situation if you're not even raising awareness of it yourself? Next, the next thing you need to do is you need to find a way to send aid. Like, you don't necessarily have to travel there, but you have to find a way, like, for example, sending shipments of goods to aircrafts, helicopters who are going to drop them in Gaza. This would be a sensible option. Sending food and money to these charities, supporting I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Islam charity or Muslim charity. But they are one of the biggest charities that is supporting the relief in Gaza right now. And yeah, you also need to shop wiser. So, for example, not going to shops and traders that are supporting the oppression of Gaza, and instead buying things from trusted sellers and stores where they are known for giving money back to these causes. And the best thing that we can do as a race, I think, is not to compare situations to each other. Not to say like, oh, well, the UK takes loads of babies from people, because that's the well-known fact. The UK is the only place in the world that allows forced adoption, or the only place in Europe. I think America might allow forced adoption as well, but it's one of the only places in Europe. Well, it's one of the only places in the world that actually allows forced adoption. So that means even if the parent says no to having their child adopted, they can still be adopted. So essentially, because of what Tony Blair did in the noughties, the UK are allowed to just take babies, and they do it as a way of like baby farming, and they do it to poor people especially. So the best way to counteract this would, so for example, for this situation, it would be to stop paying taxes, to stop paying money into social services and police forcing. That is paying the wages of the people who are doing these awful, sadistic crimes of humanity, and instead paying your money into single mother charities like the Wizard Liz has been doing, and paying for off-grid communities to have running water and things like this, so families can group together in stable communities and get away from what's going on. Or in Sudan, so that they can join together to create a military of black supporting people who will not allow these Arabs to come and murder them or take them as slaves and hostages anymore, because this isn't a new thing. The Arab slave trade has been happening since before the East Atlantic or the Atlantic coastal trade slave. So that means the Europeans have not been taking slaves from Africa for as long as the Arabs have. So you need to raise awareness about this, and you need to stop funding the parties that are oppressing the black people, and you need to start a government that is pro supporting African communities. Ibrahim Traore, or Traore, I can't say his name. I think it's Traore because there's another R in there. I've heard his name actually said as Ibrahim Traore and Traore, but I think it's Traore. I think white people say, sorry, I think European people say that it's, like most of my viewers are white, so I'm going to lose like all of my viewers right now. Sorry. No, they're not actually. Most of them are Indian, if you want to know where most of my viewers come from the statistically speaking. Anyway, Indian men, I don't have very many female viewers. At one point, I had never, I think it was 2022, I'd never had a female viewer. Isn't that crazy? Even though I think I talk about quite girly subjects, I guess it's because I'm a masculine person. But going back onto subject, I don't want to get too off subject right now. I will upload a cut version of this. I will leave this version up, but I will also upload a cut version of this for you guys to sort of get the proper facts. But anyway, what was I saying? It's so important that we are funding and changing our lifestyles to adapt to the needs of human beings, not organizations, especially as we're in a very AI driven era of human history right now, where everything is aiming at having like speedy service, not aimed at having customer service. It's becoming increasingly prevalent that the humanity of things is being replaced by the corporate need for money and resources rather than the human need for resources. So rather than thinking about what human basics are, we're thinking about capital, how to make a company scale from 100K to a billion. Like you see all these adverts on Instagram and YouTube and everywhere talking about how to get a million or $1 billion business. I'm not sure if that's just my algorithms right now or what, but I'm pretty sure that is something that is happening across the board. And that's something that is impacting on humans' lives because we are essentially seeing other people as a way to generate income for ourselves, rather than what we should be seeing is other people are a vessel of love, a vessel of intelligence, like a vessel of different perspectives. How would you be able to see another's point of view without other perspectives? The world would just be biased. And that is very much the way that the world is getting. We don't care about humans, we care about machines. Like our phone breaks and we cry about it. We break a leg and we laugh about it. What is the deal of that? You lose your child, or so, like I've seen parents who lose their child and they're like, oh, that's all right, they'll be over there, they're always over there. But then you lose your phone. So for example, your child wanders off, oh, they're just going to be over there, don't worry about it. But you lose your phone and oh no, oh my god, my phone's not in the usual place I left it, oh, I'm gonna have to get a new one, it's got all my pictures on it. Boo hoo 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 hoo. It's got all my baby pictures on. Yeah, but what about the actual baby that you just left in a public restaurant while you went to the toilet? What? You won't even leave your phone on the table, but you left your baby at the table. That's just like an extreme example of how selfish and greedy humans have become. But I'm materialistic. But I think that if you want to make a real difference to the world, you're going to have to start looking in the mirror rather than pointing fingers and placing blame at other people, because we are all doing things that we are not proud of. Like, I eat meat and I don't want to eat meat anymore. We're all doing things that we could essentially not be doing. I buy from corporate companies instead of only buying from independent companies and I buy from supermarkets and eat food from supermarkets instead of eating farm fresh groceries, which supports the local farmers and their farms. So we're all doing something that is contributing to our unhappy lifestyles. And that's all I have to really say about it. I'm not saying, yes, it's your fault that any conflicts are happening anywhere in the world, because it is not. But we all need to take accountability. And I think the first thing that we need to do in order to solve any of these conflicts or crises is to look in the mirror and start taking accountability. With that being said, I am going to be doing a few different videos that are similar to this, such as talking about how Gaza, hold on, let me get this correct for a second, about talking about how what is going on in the Ukraine, what is going on in Gaza, and what is going on in Africa are all actually related to one another, as well as the tariffs in the USA as well. And I'm also going to be doing a video on the differences between Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, because, again, that is one of the core reasons why all of these arguments are happening, because of the division and separation of the human race that has occurred. Instead of looking around and realizing we're all the same, we all came from one place, we all came from one God. If you're a monotheistic religion. If you're not, if you're a polytheistic religion, then you're going to believe that we all came from different gods in different places. So that is where the boundaries are a little bit different. And that is becoming more prevalent, especially with New Age religions. But science proves it. So I think that as a race, we will need to start understanding that we are all equal. And that just because my skin color is gold doesn't mean that your skin color, and your skin color is pink, doesn't mean that I am a terrorist and you are a saint, which actually happens a lot. You wouldn't believe, especially since having dreadlocks, you would not believe how many people think that I'm like Antifa. I've actually had somebody say she's Antifa, talking about me on the phone, and I was like, what the hell? What are you on about? So yeah, and if we start by looking into, like, if we look into these Abrahamic religions and looking into where they split off, I think that this can actually help to unify the whole world, because instead of reiterating what other scientists have already said, which is that they came from the same religion and Abraham done the same things in both books, except actually in the Bible he was supposed to be sacrificing Isaac, which is a key difference. But I'm not going to talk about this. That's something that we can get into in the video. But yeah, anyway, if we find out like what makes them different rather than what makes them the same, it celebrates the uniqueness of the religion and doesn't give the same like boring accounts of the stories that you've already heard when exploring that they are one and the same, which a lot of people may not like my opinion and perspective on Abrahamic religions being the same, because I also think that Jainist religions, I can't remember what they're called, but I think they're very similar as well. So I'm not just targeting one specific group of religions. I just think that if we were to explore the subtle differences in them, it will unite people more, because people will understand the diversity of why we are where we are today, rather than saying yeah, well, your religion is different to mine. Understanding those key differences will help to bridge the gap between them, I hope. Explaining that they are similar isn't enough to do that, because when you explain that they're similar, people put their own perspectives into the differences, such as people will say that a lot of Christian teachings are haram, but they don't look into the reason why Christians were given that insight from God. Why Christians and Jewish people follow the line of Jacob instead. So I think that mentioning the differences is going to give us a lot more of a wider overview of just how much we have evolved as a human species. I really think that speaking about the key differences in these religions actually brings us to a point of understanding why we are where we are today. So thank you very much for watching today's video. This was, I'm not sure what to title it. How to Save the World. This was How to Save the World. And I have been aided by the world peace subliminals that I was listening to, which I have to say has definitely impacted on my conscience and my perspective of this. But that is haram, so I'm not suggesting in any way that people start to listen to subliminals or do any of this, because God is supposed to be the one that is choosing our destiny. However, one of the reasons why I did do this is because I wanted to counteract the negative subliminals that have been created to destroy the world and the negative agendas that have been made to separate people. So yeah, I did personally listen to the best one that I can find is the one that's on my wall. It's in my community tab from about maybe 2 weeks ago. But yeah, that is everything that I wanted to talk about today. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you want to see more content like this. This is actually one of the main reasons why I created a YouTube account. I've just not had anything to talk about, but essentially the main reason I created a YouTube account is because I wanted to go live and talk about the mass depopulation that was going on in 2021 with the vaccination agendas. However, I didn't yet have 100 subscribers, which was the criteria of what it took to go live on YouTube. It is now 50 subscribers. But at the time, I wanted to voice my opinion and to speak about what other people had been. In fact, it goes back to before the lockdown. It's actually to do with what Stranger Than Fiction was talking about on his channel before he got censored and basically deleted. And it was one of his videos. I wanted to directly talk about what he was saying in one of his videos, and I couldn't because I couldn't go live. And I knew that if I was to record a structured video, it wouldn't be the same as just speaking about my points on a live stream. So essentially, the reason why I created, I already had this platform and it already had some videos on it, but the reason why I put so much effort into getting 100 subscribers and into getting more of a public following is so that I could spread awareness of the key facts that are going on in the world that many governing bodies either don't have the resources to look into or they don't want to look into for some reason. So I feel like I can make a difference with this platform, but only if I am able to speak to people like directly, like with live streams. And so yeah, this is essentially what I wanted to do the whole time, but I haven't felt as passionately about something since then enough to start speaking about it like this. And I also haven't had as much knowledge on like any subjects because I haven't researched them as extensively as the subjects that I have been mentioning today for a very long time. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I will see you next time. One love.